Today we have a special guest.
And we have some questions for His Magnificence Reincarnation.
Oh, magnificent one. Question
Yes.
1.
Question 1.
Could you give us an answer?
$21 million.
$21 million. What is the amount of public assistance Mayor Mason wants to give to Marriott hotels?
Oh, great one.
Yes.
We have another question, if you'd be so kind.
Whoa. Crazy money. $1 billion.
Whoa, crazy money. $1 billion. What is Racine Unified asking taxpayers to give them on the coming referendum?
Your Eminence. Number 3.
Number 3. Red shoes.
Red shoes. What $1,000 purchase is Racine Unified's Chief of Staff proudly displaying on Facebook?
Most esteemed one, the last question.
Last question. Rectal inversion thinking.
Rectal inversion thinking. What is the Journal Times' recent editorial on Car 25 a good example of?
Well, good morning. Welcome to Talkin' Racine. This is Mr. George Myers.
Morning.
This is Mr. Jim Spodek.
Morning.
And I'm Dr. Jorgen, your host. Does it feel warm in here to you guys?
A little bit.
This chair just feels warm for some reason. Well, we're talking about a bunch of things today. The first of which is going to be $21 million, which is the amount of money, the amount of public assistance that the city of Racine, specifically the mayor and the city council, want to approve and spend with Marriott hotels. Now, the last I heard, Marriott hotels shouldn't really need public assistance, should they? I mean, you hear these stories about the guy in the grocery line, you know, and he's a hard-working guy, and he's got his paycheck on a Friday, and he's got his cart half full of budget items, and he's got just barely enough to pay for it all and get some gas to get him the rest of the way home, and the guy in front of him is on welfare. He's on public assistance. He's buying steak and lobster and all kinds of wonderful things with food stamps. Now, I've never seen this happen, but we've all heard the story.
I've heard
Oh,
the story.
yeah. Everybody's got that story, yep.
Did you ever hear a story about a guy showing up in a strange town, wearing a suit, and asking for $21 million in public assistance? Have you ever heard of such a thing? Well, you have now, because that's what's going on.
That's really what it boils down
Yeah.
to. It comes down to assistance. There's no difference at this end or this end. It's still
The thing I'd like to point out too, guys, is these TIDs, the tax incremental districts, are the secret to making it look like it's not public
Right.
assistance. They make it look like the money is already there, the taxpayers aren't paying for it, it's money that we need to spend, and it's specially set up for this type of a product or this type of a project. And it's not. It's public assistance. It's coming from our pockets.
Exactly.
It's coming right from the taxpayer's pocket.
Well,
they just don't know it.
The thing that kills me is they say your taxes will not go up. They will not go up.
They went up a long time ago.
You'll pay more.
Yeah,
you'll
you're
pay
right.
more, but
That's
your
right.
taxes aren't going up. I don't know how they work that magic, but somehow or another.
it's the narrative they want to put out. So the opposite narrative that you don't hear about, you hear about their narrative. They put this narrative out, then they get the bobbleheads to basically say it over and over and over. They don't even understand it. That's
No.
the thing. The Common Council has no idea how a real TID works and how this thing is actually being funded. I mean, if you really looked at the funding mechanisms to put this together, no bank would look at this and say, "My God,
Great idea.
What's a super duper idea?" No,
Is
when it comes
21
down-
all you want? How
Yeah.
about if I give you 50?
Because look at this. Basically, I call it bribery. You're putting $21 million up, however you want to claim, but there's $21 million on a $48 million project. That's roughly 45% of the funding is coming from the taxpayers on a Marriott hotel. We really have to bribe Marriott to come here. That's what we're doing.
And then what bugs me is that it's the aldermen that are responsible for this. They should know. They have to learn how those TIDs work. And by the way, I sent them all 15 aldermen, 14, because one of them's missing. I sent them all a copy of that MacGyver article, Jim, that you sent me a long time ago, and I told them they need to learn this. As aldermen, they are responsible. It is their job to know how this works and how it's actually functioning, and explain it to their constituents, because otherwise they are abrogating their responsibility. They're just being ignorant and allowing this thing to go through right over their heads without knowing what's going on.
Well, I believe that they think they do understand it. I mean, if you talk to them, they'll say, well, this is not coming out of tax money. This is not tax dollars.
Well, that's why I sent them a copy of the MacGyver study, because it's very clear, and MacGyver gives some very, in large letters, wily governments know how to double tax these
exactly.
projects so that they get more money out of the
and it's starting to get caught on in other parts of the
It's
country.
there now.
Well, they caught on in California,
Yeah.
which is where they actually developed this strategy.
Right.
And finally the taxpayers caught on and said, no more of that.
Well, they're bankrupt. I mean, they bankrupt. I mean, these TIDs, even Racine, if you really look at it, I think we got, 22 or what year?
Well, there's 24 kids, but
Yeah.
some of them have been completed.
my blighted
Actually,
kid.
there's 23. Yeah,
Okay,
there's a
but
24th
how many are
coming up.
successful?
Oh.
Number 9, because Johnson is in there now. Again, would they have built? We can go into the whole TID thing, and I know we want to do a segment on that. But we've got 20-some TIDs. How many are really successful in the city of Racine? I mean, I don't think maybe two.
Jim,
maybe-
it's very few, and I'll tell you what. This latest one, this TID 9, that's the Johnson.
Right.
That's one of the more successful ones. It is now called a donor district. It's supplementing TIDs 10, 11, and 15, because those are all going broke.
Did you say a Donner district? Because
A
you
Donner.
remember what happened with the Donner Party out there in the Sierra Nevada.
Did I say donor? I meant donor.
Well, they are eating each other.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's happening.
It's cannibalizing.
No, it's a shame, but this is as bad as California's going. They
figured it
were
out, yeah.
smart to get rid of the TIDs.
Yeah, well, we
and
need to get rid of
hopefully
them.
they're going to wise up out there, and they're going to get rid of some other.
Yeah, but
projects.
$21 million, that's peanuts. Absolute peanuts. Because Unified School District is asking us now to pass a referendum that over, 20 years, 30 years?
30.
Over
years.
30 years will cost us $1 billion.
$1 billion. Can you imagine that? That was
billion.
gutsy.
Man, oh
was
man.
And here's the thing: if you break it down, it's
It's $30 million a year, which, in a way, it's like saying, I need $500. Can you give me 20?
Yeah.
And you.
No, it's more like I need $20, and you ask, can you give me $500?
Well, but you give them this big number. You give them this great big number, and they say, well, it's only $30 million a year.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't look at it that way,
Yeah.
But it's still
over and above,
$1 billion.
their cap.
Yeah.
So now it's
No,
That's
it's
crazy.
crazy,
Crazy money.
crazy.
And we're already taxed too much. That's the thing. If we had a nice fat treasury and we had lots of money and we were a growing community, then you had some reasonable expectations to pass it. But otherwise, we're still losing people. We have the highest unemployment in the
Well,
state.
remind me, amongst all the cities, the major cities are of reasonable size, in the state of Wisconsin, where do we rank?
We rank number one.
Number one.
Of all cities, period. Now, because of the city of Greenfield, I think, is the one is ahead of us. The only city ahead of us, but that's a small city.
Yeah.
We are the still the fifth largest city in the state. We used to be third. Now we're the fifth. So of the major ones, yeah, we're the top. Have the top tax rate, highest tax rate in the whole state.
Well, it doesn't look like we're going to lose that
it's-
status.
I got a
anytime
question,
soon.
Going up.
Why $1 billion now? I mean, Unified has been. I mean, what do you think the
Well,
incentive?
we're in a mess, Jim. These kids are having trouble. And we know if we throw enough bricks and mortar at them, they're going to start getting smart.
Okay, could it be that the charter schools?
That's
and
a
the
joke.
end- yeah.
Oh,
I didn't really
George
mean
made a
that.
George being a funny.
Okay.
I
But
try
could it
once
be
in a while.
The choice schools, the charter schools, are having an impact on the unified system, and they're saying, "Hey, we need to, really grandize our schools to attract people or to attract kids, because you'll go to some of the public school systems in the state. I mean, they're pretty impressive. There are
Yeah.
some very nice projects out there." I think in Racine, the charter schools, and I mean, I've kind of watched this out of Milwaukee and Racine, which has really been kind of the start of the projects of these charter schools, and they've got some pretty good schools, and they cost less, and the competition is definitely there. And I think part of this is we've got to do something to stay in.
Jim, that might be just the way. If a guy will go on Facebook and put red shoes up there, he might be just thinking that if we have nice enough buildings, we'll be able to compete with these charter schools.
Really,
Oh, you're talking about the red shoe guy, huh? The chief of staff over at
I'm
Unified
talking
School
about a way of thinking.
District? Yeah.
And
I mean,
agree.
because it doesn't make any sense. Oh, we're going to have nice, flashy buildings. They're going to look like spaceships or something like that, So we're going to get people going here. Like parents are going to get sucked into that. They're worried about their kids getting an education.
Yeah, what is the product of all this money going to be? What in terms of educated children? I mean, is this really going to upgrade the results of this educational process?
That's what my joke was about bricks and mortar. It doesn't. Bricks and mortar doesn't
Did you tell
teach
a
a kid a
joke?
thing.
I heard it.
You guys are mean to me.
But anyway, yeah, I agree with you, George. I mean, you spend this kind of money and you would expect an upgrade in the results. You would expect that if we're going to be the highest spending city in the state, and this is going to put us right up there as one of the highest spending school districts per capita. It's got to.
We're already way.
there.
Oh yes,
Then
we've
we
always
should be
been
way
like
the heck
second
up
place
there in the
behind Milwaukee.
rankings.
That's right, and that just shows that the money, it does not educate kids.
Right.
And if you really wanted to start doing something good for the kids and the school teachers, start getting rid of that staff over there. They cost a lot of money, and all they do is get in the way. You need to the teachers are professionals. They go to school. They learn how to teach kids. Let them practice their profession. Don't keep throwing these people sitting at desks a mile away. Tell them how they're supposed to do.
All right, let's
in the
bring that
classroom.
up since we got it here. I want to throw a clip up. I just want
All
to
right.
I just want to take a minute here and put this up. So we just take a moment of silence, because this is
Okay.
this is
We'll be very somber for a minute
okay.
before we. That was shocking, Jim.
Well, think about it.
Are you sure that's true?
It's true. I mean, this is a Facebook post that was done by the chief of staff. The amazing thing is the superintendent of schools and the head of finance liked it. They liked it on Facebook. So
Oh, it was
this
cute,
is-
huh?
Well, this is the middle of the day, or
Yeah.
10 in the morning, 9:30 in the morning. I was on break. Well, those are $1,000 shoes. And
$1,000 for a pair of
$1,000
shoes.
for a pair of shoes. But I mean,
So
this
it'd be
is
red
this
on
the
the bottom.
mentality. This is the mentality of
Yeah.
giving $1 billion.
Well, that's
to
what I'm saying.
I mean,
this is the thinking that's going on there. And,
Yeah.
and if a guy that likes red shoes, and and he says, yeah, what we need is nice buildings, and that's going to attract people like my red shoes do into how great we are. That's what I'm saying. Why would you flash red shoes like that?
Well,
I mean,
shoes are magical.
From
Oh, yeah,
someplace,
Dorothy took
her heels.
Dorothy transferred
Yeah.
her magically.
Well, I
across
guess the
some
thing that
space.
really that comes down to it, I think a lot of it is the administration at Unified needs to really. I mean, when you put stuff like that at Facebook, and the superintendent likes it, and the head of finance likes it, and another number of other people at Unified, there's something wrong. And would that happen in a corporate environment? Would that happen?
Can you
I mean,
imagine?
can you imagine that?
Yeah, of Twin Disc putting
Yeah.
his red shoes up there on saying, buy our product. We're good for cars.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is so backwards, and now to come up and have the headline out for $1 billion that we need for our schools.
I haven't looked at the plan yet. I really should do that.
The $1 billion. Have
you guys looked at
I've
what the
seen
$1
it.
billion is going to buy?
Well, this is over 30 years, so I mean, right now you're going to take, I don't know, 30 million or whatever the amount is each year, but they're going to redo pools and close some schools and some different things. I mean, it looks great. But the fact is, 30 years from now, you start now, and you're taking this every year from this point on. It's too massive to put your arms around at this point. I think they need to really look at where are we spending our dollars and really get some. Obviously, they need some time studies in here because obviously there's extra time available in that unified administration that needs to be honed down and to really look at that and get back to the basics. You want to save unified? Go to the basics.
Yeah, and let the teachers do it.
Yeah.
I think the teachers would do that if you got all this crap coming from Washington D.C. and telling them what they're supposed to be teaching. You just get that off their shoulders. I believe that most teachers would get right back to reading, writing, and arithmetic and say, "This is what we need to teach our kids, not how to dress and how to talk to people that have."
Well, all teachers are different, and
understand
quite
that.
honestly, not all of them excel. But you know what? If there's a group of teachers, and they meet periodically in the teachers' lounge for crying out loud, and if there's a couple of teachers that are extremely popular with the students and they're turning out good results, if you're doing that, I'm going to ask you what
they're
you're
going to
doing.
start to copy it. That's right.
Absolutely.
That's the way people learn.
Yep.
They mimic. They
Emulate. Emulate,
Okay,
George.
emulate. They emulate what it's doing. Not like a dog where you give them a biscuit and give them a pat on the back and they jump
Yeah.
through a hoop. That people learn differently, and if something's going good, generally a person wants to do that.
Yeah.
They're not looking for something that works badly or enslaves.
Well, they have tried to enforce excellence from the top down, and it's just not working.
No.
It's
It's obviously not working, and that's why we're talking about it. And so they think the $1 billion, that's the top down still. If we're going to put a new building in there, and you're going to have a new place to teach people, and that's going to change everything.
Yeah, well, I tell
Sorry.
you.
Next topic.
Next topic, indeed. I think that's a good idea. And that would be Car 25, which we discussed a little bit last week. Or was it
Car
last
25,
week?
yeah. Yeah.
Car 25, an amount of money, what is it, 125, 140? I know there was a little
I think
difference
it ended up
of
at
opinion.
about 115,000.
About 115,000?
The maximum was 146 that they could spend. What they came up with is that they needed to spend was in the 115 range.
Well, that's what the finance committee
Came up with
ultimately
it.
decided.
They're going to actually
They're going to
spend.
appropriate that much.
Right.
But somebody who was there, who's got experience with having built Car 25 from the ground up once before, said, "Look, you could bring this thing back up on its feet for about 15 grand, and I'll be willing to show you how." Now,
Yeah,
it's very,
yeah.
very interesting. They've budgeted about $50,000 for a part-time worker.
Right.
Now, are they going to put this person under the control of the MIS department, or are
Apparently.
they going to give this person leeway to do what needs to be done to get this channel back
Well, that
up
would
and
be a
running?
mistake if they keep it in the MIS
If they
department.
put it
We've
under the
already seen that.
MIS department, they're just predisposing this to failure because that's what happened the last
But
time
here's
the
the thing.
MIS
Well,
department
the head of the
ran.
MIS department doesn't like it.
Right.
I mean, we talked
No,
about,
right.
what'd you
But
call
the
him,
Journal
Anaconda or
Times comes
something?
in with an editorial. Yeah, but the Journal Times comes in with an editorial and said that money could be better spent somewhere else.
Yeah, but what bugs me about that editorial is that they insist that it's coming from taxpayers, and it's not taxpayers' money that's paying for Car 25, folks. I hope you all understand that, and maybe it'll seep on over to the Journal Times somehow, where they discover it. That's coming from our cable bill. It's the $4 to $5, depending on which district you're in. Mine $4.75 or something. Jim's yours is $5. But that comes from our cable bill. It does not come from our tax bill. The only association is that maybe taxpayers are getting
Our cable
our
subscribers.
cable subscriber, and in that way they're paying because they're taxpayers. But it's basically
But
cable
here
subscribers.
they
put
They're
it-
paying for a station that is for them.
Right.
Nothing's coming from taxpayers.
But here's the thing. How does the Journal Times get it so wrong?
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Isn't that
I
amazing?
mean,
They have
totally
that
wrong.
Investigative journalism
Yeah.
is completely missing there.
I didn't realize that. But good old
No,
investigative.
once in a while they do something good. I don't want to completely trash the Journal-Times because they've had
Well,
some.
they blew this one.
They certainly did.
Yeah.
They certainly did.
And they blew up big time. And here's the thing: this is an important station. It could be an important station for the city, because if you took that money and used it properly and started going into other things that the government's doing, like committee meetings, and then just have some fun, go back to the softball games, go into some things going on at the high schools and the grade schools, just to promote the city and show how much fun we're having here. I think that would do more to
Right.
promote this city than just about anything
Here's the
our
thing.
CEDC is doing.
We've got, and I know you've got some headlines, George, you want to bring, but the Journal Times comes out and the festival park is going to be redone. Nobody mentions the fact that the taxpayers are $21 million toward this redo,
Yeah.
but yet $115,000 for Car 25 is way out of bounds. We could use that somewhere else. I mean, is
Or
that,
$1 billion for
yeah,
Unified.
I don't get it. I just don't
We
get
can't
the
take
mentality.
$115,000 of your money and do something that will
Right.
benefit you that you would use. That's outrageous.
I don't. It's almost like they get their walking papers from the city. The city.
Well,
must-
that was the thing
Yeah.
I saw. All right, because I think the council members voted 14-0 to spend this money. So the only thing left is the mayor and his staff and
Right,
the,
shooting
and
a
the-
press
and-
release over to. Well, it's
Yeah.
not a good idea.
Yeah, and
And I honestly, I believe the Journal Times takes these press releases and just prints them, or they just get it. It's easy. It's easy journalism, because I got to make sure that those revenues are coming in. We got to get those ads out. I just
We should start sending them press releases.
we should. But it's the narrative that gets sent out to the public, and that narrative doesn't get.
Well, they read it in the newspaper, so people take it as factual.
right.
and
that's the
the
problem.
problem. And a lot of people, there's a
Well,
lot
I
of people.
tell you, you talk to just about anybody that has been included as part of a story, who has got an intimate, personal understanding of a particular story, and I ask them, "Did that really happen?" Well, yeah, but not like they said. They got everything wrong. They got everything ass backwards.
Yeah, I know,
and that
it goes-
happens time and time and time again. And this is a perfect example of them getting it wrong.
Right.
What would you call that? Rectal inversion thinking. I
Somebody
think.
said that.
Yeah, I got that from some higher up someplace.
Well, George, you know what? I think it's time for George takes a look at the news.
Okay, should I take a look at it? Okay. There were a couple articles that I found interesting. Milwaukee 7 group honors RCEDC. Now, this is, bureaucrats honoring bureaucrats, and to me, it's very shallow. I mean, it's real simple. That somebody needs to award this group RCEDC. Very nice people over there. I sat there and watched the presentation at the finance committee. Adorable people, but doggone it, that's a lot of money to spend for what we get from them. But another group, another bureaucracy has given them a medal. So I mean, that's what that's worth.
I wonder if we could get some kind of award from another video blogger.
Well, yeah, it'd
Sure
be
would
like
be
me
nice.
awarding
Yeah.
Jim.
Yeah, right. You're doing a great job, George.
It's unfortunate. Another one was this one we talked a little bit about already. Nice big picture on the front page of the Journal Times of a very nice
It's a
looking
guy
building
on
over there.
it's a guy in public assistance, right?
Yeah, that's the guy on public assistance.
Where he's applying for it. Anyway.
It's amazing. These planners. Now, this is for a festival site. This is the $21 million we were talking about.
The luxury hotel
And
that you will probably never be able to afford to stay in.
and it's amazing. These guys have no money themselves. I mean, we experienced that with Rodney Blackwell. That was with Machinery Row. But they are able to get money from various places. The first $21 million coming from Racine taxpayers, and then there's going to be other things that they're going to get, other money they're going to get for their hotel. They have, when I asked him at the finance committee, is there any of your money, is there any private money coming into it? He said, well, 15%, which would be of the $48 million, about maybe $3 million. And my bet is that he's going to borrow that. It's going to be, it's still not going to be money that they have that they're actually investing in it. It's going to be all just money put together. That's what these developers are. They aren't real true developers. they're money managers. They're financiers. They've
They're
figured
salesmen.
out these ways. Yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
salesmen. They're very good salesmen. Yeah,
You
come into
know
it.
who's the
That's
biggest supporters
true.
of this project? The same people that supported Machinery Row and the Arena Project, and Corey Mason is up to his eyeballs in this, just like he was Machinery Row,
Yep.
just like he was the Arena, until August 8th when he realized that he would never get elected if he kept backing it. All of a sudden, I'll veto that.
Here's the
But
other
he's
thing.
a big
Here's the
backer
other
of
thing.
this.
This thing coming through goes to finance and then goes to the committee, common council within a week. And you're talking about $21 million. There's no input from the community, no input from the public. You're spending $21 million of taxpayers'
Well,
money.
Jim, they learned that lesson from the Arena.
Exactly.
They gave us a couple of months on that one. We shot
Yeah.
it down.
Right.
So this one they had to go through in like 8 days. And basically, these developers, they're targets. They're the people that they're scamming. It's always the same people. What it is these city councils that are struggling to figure out how they're going to get their city going, and they come in as salesmen, which you
Right.
pointed out, they really are. They're as salesmen. They sell them that this is the way we're going to get your city going. And after the meeting, you heard people say, "Yeah, we need something. We need a development like this to really stimulate the local economy." I'm sorry, but hotels don't re-stimulate any economy. They're still at the wrong end of the economic cycle. We can't all go rent rooms from each other, and have a booming community. Now we can all produce things. We can each make things in our community, in the manufacturing thing, and trade, and that's a legitimate economy. But we can't all go rent from each other. We can't all go buy from things out at our stores. Somewhere along the line, we have to get into this other end of the economic cycle where you have manufacturing. So this is the wrong end of the economic cycle in which to start boom an
Do
economy.
you think
renting out
that
hotel
this
rooms?
developer, money manager, whatever, could go to Oak Creek and pull the same stunt, or go to Kenosha and pull the same stunt he's pulling here?
He can't pull it to any community that feels like it's doing well and the economy is doing well and it's growing and the people have
I mean,
places
if you went
to work
to
and
Oak
stay.
Creek and said, "Gee, we want $21 million on a $48 million project, and we want to put it here on near Town Square on Ryan Road, say, or wherever it is," you think they pull that out? How did you get in here? Is what they would ask.
Yeah, Oak Creek is doing fine on its
Where did
own.
you
They
come
don't need
from?
to do that type of
Like,
stuff.
how did he get in here? And
I
that's what
think
happened.
you guys might be you're being overly critical, because what is one thing that you're going to find in every one of those hotel rooms?
I thought he was what?
A TV set. There's Foxconn and
There is
hotel development.
There is a
beautiful
connection here, yeah.
synchronicity there.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
You're great. I'm surprised that isn't mentioned.
I don't know how you let that get past you, Jim. I really don't.
Well, somewhere along the line, hopefully one of these communities, and I'd like Racine to be the first one, is going to find out the real solution is to cut down on some of these bureaucratic regulations you're trying to jump through in order to start up a business and get the tax rate down nice and low, and you're going to find out, marvelously, look at all the people moving in here, starting up businesses. Isn't this wonderful? And we doesn't take a bit of taxpayers' money. Somebody's got to discover that, and hopefully Racine will be the first one.
Yeah, well, I'm disheartened by the fact that somebody like Delta Hawk comes in, and they get like a nice chunk of money from the city.
They did.
And somebody else comes in like Jeff Nelson, a guy that we had on the show not too long ago. He brings in an ironworking company, and man, they just couldn't do enough to discourage the guy.
That's
I
right.
mean, they've just beat the hell out of him with regulations and
Hassling his
requirements.
tenants. He bought a building and they hassled his tenants.
They
had to
drove
move
his
all his
tenants
tenants
out.
out.
Yeah.
They had to move. What a welcome. Oh, come on in, Joe. We're going to evict all your tenants. They aren't properly licensed,
Oh,
and-
my gosh.
You got anything
Oh,
else in the
mercy.
news, George? or
No,
we're gonna-
well, no, those are the main things I wanted to cover
Okay.
today.
Well, let's call it a wrap for today. It's been fun. We're glad you're here, and we hope you come back for more next week. Until then, have a good life.